Hello and welcome to my vlog. In this experiment, we will be modeling osmosis of water across a cell membrane to determine if different liquids are hyper, hypo, or isotonic. The egg will represent our cell. Let's get started with what we will need for this experiment. One egg in the shell, 250 milliliter beaker. You can use 3 or 1. Right now I have 1. 200 milliliters of white vinegar, which I have in here. And I also labeled it "Do not touch," so my husband and my kids don't touch it. Hopefully they heed the warning. Clear Caro syrup, and that's 200 milliliters of clear Caro syrup and 200 milliliters of distilled water. For the first part, we are going to be placing the egg into our 200 milliliters of vinegar, and we are going to let that sit. See if I can do this without making a mess. It's a rather large egg, so I made a little bit of a mess. And it is up to 250 milliliters right now. All of the little bubbles. That is the vinegar contains acetic acid, which interacts with the calcium carbonate crystals of the eggshell, and separates them into calcium ions and carbonate molecules, which will form carbon dioxide bubbles. So that is the carbon dioxide bubbles that you can see on there. We're going to leave this until 3:20 p.m. tomorrow, and we'll come back and see what's happened to it. Right now, it's just bubbles, carbon dioxide bubbles. So it's been about 40 minutes, and when I put the egg in the vinegar, it sunk to the bottom. So now it is floating, and you can see all of the carbon dioxide bubbles still, which are making it spin on its own. Pretty cool. Alright, it's been 2.5 hours, and the egg in the vinegar is getting foamy on the top. It's still floating. I've still got the carbon dioxide bubbles. It has been 15 hours since I've put the egg in the white distilled vinegar. There's lots of foam on the top, and it's still bubbly. It looks like there's kind of a little hole right there. I guess we'll see in about 9 hours. Hello, we're back for day 2 of the Lab 6 egg vlog experiment. I have the egg right here in the vinegar. There's lots of foam on the top, and the egg looks different. So we're going to carefully remove the egg from the vinegar solution. There's all kinds of foam on the top of it, which that is from the vinegar dissolving the eggshell, and it is very soft, so I'm going to place it down here on this plate, and we are going to see how much vinegar is in the beaker. There is 160 milliliters of vinegar remaining in the beaker. Remember, yesterday we started out with 200 milliliters, so we've lost 40 milliliters, and the egg does look bigger than it did yesterday. I'm going to now rinse it off carefully with regular water. And as I'm rinsing it off, you can see that all of the eggshell was not dissolved. And it's coming off under the running water. So I'm going to continue rinsing it off, and I'll be back. All right, it's all nice and rinsed off. It's very soft. I, for some reason, thought it was going to be a little tougher, but it's very fragile. Kind of like a water balloon. It's pretty cool. And you can see the egg, egg yolk inside of it. So I am going to, let me wipe my plate off. I'm going to place it on this plate while I grab my beaker. I have a beaker for my Caro syrup, also labeled "Do Not Touch," so my husband and my kids hopefully stay off of it. We have the Caro syrup here, and we are going to add 200 milliliters of Caro syrup. Okay, we've got our 200 milliliters of Caro syrup measured out, and now we are going to place the egg into the Caro syrup, and hopefully, actually, I'm going to put the beaker on the plate first, just in case it overflows. We don't make a mess all over the place. I'm not going to force it in there, but there we have the egg in the Caro syrup. We are going to leave this in here for 24 hours. And here we are, day 3 of our egg vlog. The egg in Caro syrup. It's shriveled up. We're going to put 200 milliliters of distilled water. We We have our 200 milliliters of distilled water, labeled it on the back so my husband and kids don't touch it. So now we are going to remove the egg very carefully from the corn syrup. Try to get as much of the corn syrup off that I can back into the beaker so we can measure it. This is what it looks like. I'm going to place that on the plate. We started out with 200 milliliters of clear corn syrup, Caro syrup, in that beaker. And there is now 240 milliliters of Caro syrup and water. So we lost about 40 milliliters of water from our egg. Now we are going to take the egg and put it into our beaker that has 200 milliliters of water. We're going to let that sit for 24 hours and come back and see what happens to the egg. Right now, the egg is in the distilled water. It is sitting on the bottom. I wonder if it's going to float to the top like it did when it was in the white vinegar. And we will be back in 24 hours. We are back for day 4 of our egg vlog. And here, the egg has unshriveled, and we're going to take it out of the distilled water and see how much water is left in this beaker. We started yesterday with 200 milliliters of distilled water. And I just spilled some of the water trying to get it out because the egg was wedged in there. So we'll do our best to guesstimate how much water I just spilled out of there and how much water went into the egg. There's the egg. Again, like a water balloon. That's what it feels like. The camera's over there. It's got little air bubbles. Kind of hard to see. That's pretty cool. Stinks. We started with 200 milliliters of water 24 hours ago. And this says that there is 140 milliliters left in the cup. And I'm going to say I spilled about 10 milliliters. So we'll say there was about 150 milliliters left in the cup. So that means that the egg soaked up about 50 milliliters. That is pretty cool. You can see the yolk moving around inside. It's kind of like, well, it is like a cell within a cell. That's pretty cool. And that will end the egg vlog. Now I thought it would be kind of cool to cut it open. Hopefully it doesn't splash all over the place. So we'll just, woo, that scared me. That is a lot of water. I wonder exactly how much water that is. I have a beaker over here. Let's measure it. And that's what we have left of the egg, along with that. And this says we have 50 milliliters of water. Pretty cool.